You can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
All right, let me hit that button one more time.
Ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you?
It's time to flip a coin and find out.
Well, we need to know what we're calling it for here.
We're calling it to see who's got the best sports knowledge here on the Coin Flip with Martin Kelly
And Jacob Zimmerman.
Flip it again.
Yeah.
Jinx.
Thanks.
Episode 20 of the Coin Flip. Welcome.
Yes, sir.
Kicking it off with a great show. What is today? January 23rd, 2021.
I know, right?
Let's get into this.
Yeah, we got a special guest on the show, Michael Santoscoy.
Hello, everybody. What is up?
He's a Dixie Sun News writer. He is one of the senior writers for Dixie Athletics at the Dixie Sun News. He is one of my upcoming best friends, man. I like hanging out with him. I like talking about sports with him, man. He's really one of the cool guys on the show with us. We're happy to have him on the show for the first time today. Michael, man, we got a lot to talk about with you today. But first, Jacob, how about we get this rundown in?
I'm bringing the rundown today. Oh, boy. Can't wait.
You can bring the rundown, or I can do the rundown.
For the NBA, we're going to go into what is wrong with Kyrie Irving and the new Big Three Nets. 2 losses in a row to the Cavs. Those sure didn't look good the other night, but we got to dive into that. Then, what is wrong with the Mavericks? How's Luka Doncic's MVP case shaking up? We'll dive into that as well. And then, finishing out the NBA, does Donovan Mitchell deserve to be in the MVP conversation? Lots of great stuff in the world of b-ball. Then moving on to NFL later in the show, we'll have the scores from last week. We'll talk about Phillip Rivers. Is he a Hall of Famer? And then Dwayne Haskins just got picked up. How's his second chance going to be with the Pittsburgh Steelers? And then we're going to do our picks for the AFC and the NFC, giving our predictions for who will make and win the Super Bowl. And then other sports, we're doing Dixie Sports. Michael's going to take a lot of that. Football, basketball, baseball, softball, and then I'm finishing it out with the rant.
Hey, there you go, Jacob. I like that. Also, we got to just say from the start here, R.I.P. to one of the legends, Hank Aaron, 86 years old, died the other day, played majority of his career with the Atlanta Braves, was part of one of... It's I don't like the title of it, but it was what it was called, the Negro League back in the early 40s. He played in the Negro Baseball League. He was part of a Chicago baseball team back in the day, so he was one of the legends. 3rd all-time on the all-hit list. He is 2nd all-time on the home run list. He is one of the great legends. Rest in peace, Hank Aaron. Miss you so much, man. It's been 2021, man. It's already starting off so bad. On top of that, Jacob, we got 3 days until we got to remember Kobe Bryant.
Ooh.
I know.
That's going to be tough.
It was 3 days away. The same thing with you, Michael. You're from California.
Yeah.
It's tough to just say we're 3 days away from a 1-year anniversary away from Kobe Bryant's death.
And yesterday was his anniversary of the 81-point game.
Yeah.
So...
And on top of that, it was not totally in sports news, but we were just talking about it with Sean. What was his name?
What's his name?
Yeah, what is his
Locally? Nationally?
No, it was the... I can't remember his name. He just died this morning.
Larry King.
Larry King
There you
died
go.
this morning at the age of above 90. You ever heard of Larry King?
I have. Didn't he write books?
He wrote books. He's been on radio ever since like the 40s to 50s. So R.I.P. to the legend. It's sad. I don't know, man. It's 2020 and 2021, man. Can we forget about these years? Can we just write them out of the history books, please?
We got respect for the culture even on the sports podcast.
That is true. All right, let me hit that NBA button. We got to talk some more NBA on this show.
Doncic pulls up, three-pointer. Bang! Bang! It's good! Doncic wins the game at the buzzer! It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger? Here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good! The Bulls win it! They win it! 3 and 2. LeBron to win the game. He does! He does! The ball comes in. Cody's got it. Above the three-point line, taking a little bit of time. One dribble pull-up. To the win. He's got it! The Lakers win! McKee gets it in the middle for the win. It's there!
two. Wade puts it up for the win. Yeah, baby!
Oh, my, we are witnessing one of the great players to ever play in this league. And, man, I hope it lasts for another 7, 8, 9 years, baby.
7, 8, 9.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
We just hope guys play for so long. We just hope guys play for so long, don't we, Michael?
Oh yeah, definitely. You definitely want that that long-lasting career for sure.
I mean, I'm dreading the day LeBron, Curry, all these guys retire. It's gonna suck.
Like all these guys we watched growing up, and now they're just slowly walking out the door.
You know, that is going to be a crazy day when I see Kevin Durant retire. I'm like, dude, 2011 wasn't that long ago. It really was not that long ago. Damn you, LeBron James. You had to steal a championship away from me. Anyway, let's talk about Kyrie Irving here on the NBA. Let's start with him first. The new big three in the big Brooklyn Nets. They suffered 2 losses in a row. Jacob,
Yes,
this
sir.
new big three team, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, championship or bust is the goal for this team. Why are they losing to the Cleveland Cavaliers on back-to-back nights and letting Colin Sexton grab some MVP conversation type attitude? What is going on with the Brooklyn Nets and Kyrie?
Well, with these past 2 games, Colin Sexton has probably jumped 400 spots on my favorite NBA players list.
You know what? Let's give him a little credit. He played lights out in the double overtime game, and yesterday he played out even more lights out, and they got one of their young guards back in Darius Garland, who they just drafted about a season ago, back last night as well. Cleveland is a team on the rise, but shouldn't the Brooklyn Nets be beating them by 40?
I don't know by 40, but they absolutely should be beating them with ease. Colin Sexton was unbelievable the other night. He hit at least 4 or 5 clutch threes. I can't even count how many there were because it was incredible. He was hitting side steps, step backs, pull-ups, anything you name it as far as creating shots in the NBA. He had 42 total points. But as far as the Nets, I mean, we know this team's going to be legit on offense. They're going to be a top 5 offensive team. But on defense, it'll be quite the contrary. In the first game, now I know it went to double overtime, but get this. The big three, Harden, KD, Kyrie, combined for 96, and they still lost by 12. That screams problems. That screams there's no defense. I think Steve Nash needs to try to work his way with these guys a little bit more, get them more involved in a system. But just defensively, they need to figure it out. I noticed Kyrie is asserting himself as the number 2, maybe even number 1 option already on this team. He's letting Harden know, I'm going to take a lot of these shots. But Allen and Drummond, the other night in the second game, the most recent game, they both had 19 each, and Sexton had 25 as well. Those bigs are really going to kill the Nets. They're 9-8 on the year. I think their threat is the Celtics and then the Sixers, obviously, with Embiid and Simmons in the post. I think they're going to still improve. I don't want us to overact over just 2 games. But I think this team will be in the Eastern Conference Finals regardless, but problems are going to surround this team all year long.
So Kyrie came out last night to doubters on IG. Some people were attacking him on Instagram as usual, and Kyrie can't help himself. He's got to respond because it's Kyrie. So he went on to say on the IG onto doubters after the losses to Cleveland, he said, we will be on that stage where the best of the best meet. So in my mind, Kyrie is looking at these 2 losses as Cleveland as, well, who cares? It's just like, it's like spending like $10 on dinner. He's like, I don't really care. It's $10, man. I'm not looking at it that big of a deal. I still got more money in my bank account. I don't need to be worrying about that crap. And let me tell you something. That's the wrong mentality. When you're a team like this talented, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, James Harden arguably are the top 15 players in the NBA right now. And you can make a case 3 of those arguably are the top 10 players in the NBA right now. And you cannot be losing. Though it is a Cleveland team on the rise, you can't be losing in double overtime by 12. You can't be losing in regulation by almost 15 last night to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Though they're a team on the rise, this is a team you should come walking in. You should beat up on this team. Colin Sexton was supposed to be written off last season. He can't play the game. He doesn't understand anything, and he's blossoming into a great player. Now back over to the Brooklyn Nets. They have no defense. They have no offense. They have no bench. They've completely emptied out the whole entire they emptied out everything in the fridge for just 3 steaks. And they're hoping these 3 steaks taste so delicious that they'll forget about that they have no sides and no dessert.
You're somehow going to get your vegetables, your fruits, your carbs, all of that with the steak.
By just eating this beautiful prime ribeye steak. Like, no, that isn't going to happen. And are they talented enough to get to the conference final? Sure. Are they talented enough to probably turn it around in the playoffs and get ready for a team like Boston, like Philly, like Milwaukee? Sure. But I need to see something at least in the regular season. I get it. You're going to sleepwalk through the regular season. You're already ready for the playoffs. But can we at least see something that says you guys aren't just like totally like sleeping at the wheel? Can I at least get some basketball where I can enjoy it at least? I mean, that's what I'm expecting from a team like this. That's what we always expect from the top stars. Michael, I invite you on to talk about this. I mean, this has got to be frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be frustrating for sure that you have chemistry with Harden back in OKC, and after he departed, you went on to win some rings, win MVP, and now that chemistry should be back with this Brooklyn team. You guys should be as good as the 73-9 Golden State Warriors, and they're not proving that. They're not proving that, and the Brooklyn Nets are all in. They're putting all the chips in the center of the table. They're all in, and they gotta pull something together and show that, oh, we're going to be for real and we're going to make it to the NBA final stage.
So, I mean, I'm if I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan, I don't know whether I should be confident or nervous. Like, I am in between both. If I'm an outside fan looking in, and I'm between both. I don't know where to go with this team.
Michael, I know Martin's opinions on who his favorite teams are, who his favorite players are. For me, I'm a LeBron James fan, therefore a Lakers fan. I like the Panthers. I'm from North Carolina. So I have my team in the NFL, and then I have like these players in the NBA that I like to follow. Who do you follow in sports? Kind of give me a background on yourself.
Man. All right. So for basketball, I'm from California, so
Okay.
I'm all local teams. Lakers for sure is my team.
Sir.
I grew up. I love Kobe. Don't get me wrong. I love Kobe, but I admired Pau Gasol's game when he's with the Lakers, and I just followed his game because when I played basketball, I didn't have a jumper for sure, and watching Pau Gasol just taking notes from him was awesome. And at the time, like, my uncle's a huge LeBron James fan, and just looking at him now, like I can see why Michael gives so much respect to LeBron, and I finally give him so much respect now, from when he won a championship in Cleveland and now to LA. It's amazing to watch LeBron play with AD in LA. So it's some amazing stuff out there for sure.
Absolutely. I like this, man.
You know what? Listen, I've been talking to Michael because him and I got some mutual friends. Shout out to Ariel. She's totally awesome. She's one of our friends right there. And Megan. Megan's one of our friends too. Shout out to her. So I've been talking to him about Dixie Sports for a long time. There is nobody that I know who knows as much as Dixie Athletics here at this school more than Michael. He covers it on the Dixie Sun News show. He covers it in the newspaper, on the website. There is no one that I know that knows more about Dixie Athletics, and that's why I love talking to him. When I talk to him about other national sports, man, can he talk like you, Jacob? Like, he can go for hours on end. So we got all the type of people on here to talk about sports, man. It is fun to have Mike on. Let's turn our attention over to Dallas Mavericks here. They're 8-7 on the year. They are a team on the rise. They are a team that's supposed to be competing for a conference championship, to competing for an NBA Finals. They have everybody back, minus Seth Curry. That's the only person that's really missing from their roster last year. They have Willie Cauley-Stein. They have Norman Powell. They have Porzingis. They have Luka. But Jacob, why are they only 8-7 and why are they behind the Memphis Grizzlies in the standings?
I think that Seth Curry loss had pretty big impact on this team. Not because Seth Curry is like this amazing player, but it's because floor spacing rules the NBA. It's not the reason you want guys to have a super high 3-point percentage is not the fact that they can even make the shot. It's the fact that the defense thinks that they can make the shot. Therefore, the defense has to go play out on them, creating floor space for the rest of the team, for the ball handlers in the team. Luka Doncic is pretty much going to average about the same as he did last year. I thought he might jump, but it's not looking like it. The Mavericks, I had some high expectations for this team, top 3 seed in the West, if I remember correctly. But I don't think they're going to be quite to that level. I predicted Luka to win MVP. I think you might have as well. I can't stand by that prediction as of right now. I need to see a little bit more from this team. But let's talk about Kristaps Porzingis. Coming back from that injury, he's really the key piece on this team. He's averaging 20 and 9 last I checked via those awesome ESPN stats. But I think he needs to have a few more attempts. Just get involved in this game. There's too many games where he falls out of the flow on the offense, just kind of settles for some deep threes. He's got to remember, he is a unicorn, but he's 7'3". No one's blocking his shot in the post in this NBA. I think they're missing a third piece as well. They just need to figure it out. They have 95% of the recipe. They just need to cook it all together.
I think a big problem with this is I don't think Porzingis totally has all of his confidence together. Listen, when you go through a serious injury like that, turn an ACL, you didn't break a bone that's gonna regrow, and you're gonna have to try to you basically tore a muscle. You tore something that basically helps you walk, and every time him being 7'3", I mean, Sam Bowie, Greg Oden, they had knee injuries, they had ankle injuries, they had serious problems that they just couldn't overcome because they were too big. And we saw that with Sean Bradley, too. He was 7'6". We saw that with Yao Ming. We saw that with Shaq. Big guys like those, that tall, are not meant to be that tall. Those are just freaks of nature that happen every once in a while. And when you play a game like basketball, it puts so much pressure on your knees. It puts so much pressure on your back. I don't think Porzingis is there yet on his confidence, and I need to see him at that confidence. I need to see the unicorn. I want the unicorn back. I miss the unicorn, and I think he has a chance in Dallas, but we need to see it. Where's that dude that would pop a three, would drive it to the bucket, would slam it down, would pass it out for a kick out, would just be all over the place and be someone that would annoy you, and I just don't see that in Porzingis. Mike, what do you take away from this?
So what I'm looking at here on ESPN stats, that I think they need a bench for sure. They need a bench. They have 6 guys scoring double figures, and everybody else is single digits. They need a 6-man for sure. And Luka and Kristaps, they're trying to act like that LeBron AD duo, but I don't think that's not going to work out. And I think they need a guy who can create plays for Kristaps in the paint and get up there and score points in the paint and just create opportunities for him to score.
Like a true point guard?
Yeah, true point guard.
Okay.
I'm not wrong with that. I think Luka is a decent handler with the ball, but maybe he's better in the shooting spot, maybe not. All right, let's move on to Donovan Mitchell. Utah Jazz. Why not talk about some local sports here on our podcast, man? We love talking about it all the time. Jacob, Donovan Mitchell is having an MVP season. Is that true or is that false?
I'm not sure if he's even a contender yet.
What? I got it.
Okay.
I got to hear this.
Let me explain. They're 11-4, 7-game win streak. We're going to have to see how these standings play out, all right? I have written a hypothetical case. These numbers.
A hypothetical case.
These amount of wins for Utah. This is what it would look like if Donovan Mitchell was going to win MVP. 28 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds on 45, 40, 85% splits with a top 3 record in the Western Conference, preferably over 55 games. Now, Mitchell right now is averaging 24 points per game and only 5 assists. He has improved from his three-point rating. He's shooting 40% this year. I didn't think he was going to get that quickly, but I just think the rest of this team, I think his points per game total is really going to matter as far as giving him the award. We see how much stats do factor into the MVP. I just think there's too many other guards that are going to get the nod over him.
Mike?
Donovan Mitchell. I just had this conversation yesterday with James Jetty. Do you remember James Jetty?
Of course I remember.
Yeah,
James.
he texted me Donovan Mitchell is the best in NBA right now. Changed my mind. I was like, Well, he's ranked 15th in scoring right now. And I think this is a group effort out with the Utah Jazz right now. It's just not Donovan Mitchell. It's Rudy Gobert. It's Mike Conley. Those three guys. Mike Conley leading with 6 assists on the team, and Rudy Gobert grabbing boards, third in the NBA and second in blocks. So this is a group effort, and I feel like the Jazz are just leaning too much on Donovan Mitchell when they're down in the game, and they expect him to just ball out and get him over that hump and go far in the playoffs. So I don't think he's not there yet, but eventually he's going to get there.
Yes.
So I'm taking the other direction. I'm backing him up on this.
I can't wait to hear your response.
I'm going to say right now, Donovan Mitchell is not only in the MVP conversation, he's amongst probably the top 5 in the conversation right now.
Okay.
You know why I put that in the conversation? Let's look at his points just in his last 5 games. 27 points, 26 points, 18 points, 26 points, 36 points. You mentioned the 24 points, 5 assists. He's shooting 44% from the field. Do you guys know that he's doing all of this under 35 minutes a game? Most MVPs average more than 41 minutes in an NBA game and average that in a season.
Oh, did you dig out that stat?
Average over 41 minutes. An MVP in the last 10 seasons has averaged 41 minutes over an NBA season to win the MVP. He is doing this under 35 minutes.
That's crazy. I know Giannis averaged like 30 minutes last year with his MVP. Nutty.
Dude, this is the reality. That you do not need to burn yourself out to be in the MVP conversation. You don't need to be a 48-minute man. You don't need to be a 46-minute man. You don't need to be a 42-minute man. You don't need to do all that. You can do this under 35 minutes and consistently be in the MVP conversation. And let's admit it. Besides Donovan Mitchell, besides Rudy Gobert, there isn't a whole lot of consistent shooting in Utah. It's mainly Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell from time to time. Yes, you get Mike Conley. Yes, you get Bogdanovich. Yes, you get Ingles. And yes, you get Clarkson. But when they are not having good games, it falls on Mitchell to fall back on it and recruit this team and get them back in the game. The last 7 games, they've actually been behind in at least one quarter. And they've had to come back in all 7 games to win the games. They didn't just come back in just in the last 3 minutes. They came back in a fashion. They took over a quarter in the game. Yes, Donovan Mitchell is an MVP. He is in the conversation for the MVP. He's amongst the top 5. This dude is taking the next step because he is proving I was not the first overall draft pick in my class. Guess where he got picked? 13th. I am the 13th pick in the NBA draft, and I am outplaying the number 1 overall draft pick from that class at the very moment because that number 1 overall pick in the draft class is out with a torn ACL. And got moved from Philly over to Orlando.
Markelle Fultz isn't much competition.
But think about that. Markelle Fultz was the number 1 overall draft pick, and Donovan Mitchell from Louisville, who had a career season over there, falls to 13th into Utah Jazz hands. That's like Michael Porter Jr. He gets hurt in 2 games playing at Missouri, and he falls to 14th to the Denver Nuggets, and he's going to be in the MVP conversation one day if he can actually play some defense and actually pass the ball. Come on, Michael. But my point is, yes, Donovan Mitchell deserves to be in the MVP conversation. That's just how I look at it.
I don't think he's taken a jump really from his rookie year to now. You could say isn't a huge improvement. It's definitely more of an improvement from Ben Simmons. But
he should have won Rookie of the Year.
I agree with that. But
now looking back at it, he should have won it.
Michael, do you think we could come up with 5 candidates who are better than Mitchell right now? We got, let's say
LeBron.
Kawhi.
You think Kawhi? He hasn't played as much games. He hasn't played as many games. I would say Paul George.
Okay, Paul. What about Kevin?
Kevin Durant. Joel Embiid. And then maybe...
Bradley Beal, excuse me.
Okay.
And then maybe Ice Tray.
Maybe. You can throw...
So I think Mitchell's top 10. But I wouldn't give him top 5.
You got a good point there. Good point. We got to talk. Actually, we'll talk about Joel Embiid next week. He's been playing like a monster.
We shall.
You know what? Let's talk about it just here for a minute. He's proven all of us wrong that when we said, is he a crybaby? Is he good enough to play a consistent amount of games? Is he good enough to be the monster that we know he is? He may be proving us a little bit wrong on that one.
Well,
he may be.
the consistency was always the problem with Joel. It was him eating cheeseburgers, getting a massage like an hour before the playoff game. That's the problem with Joel. It's not. We know he can put up these 38 and 12 and 4 games. We know he can do that, but it's come playoff time. Will he be able to do it with the team sagging off of Simmons getting a 3-second violation? Like, is that bad?
You know what? Now that I think about it, now I know why Shaq is on top of Joel Embiid so much, because Shaq used to eat cheeseburgers all the time before playoff games, and he used to get in trouble because of that with Kobe Bryant. And he's like, dude, stop eating the cheeseburgers. You're going to ruin something. I know what happens when you two split off, and one of you guys are going to regret this decision.
Shaq is even the reason we're talking about Donovan Mitchell. Shaq's been hating on everybody for no reason.
I'm gonna prove you wrong. I like that he said that too, because he's trying to like get him to work harder. That's not a bad thing to say about Donovan Mitchell. He plays in Utah. He doesn't play for the Lakers. He doesn't play for the Clippers. Doesn't play for the Bulls. Doesn't play for the Knicks. Doesn't play for the Nets. Doesn't play for these marquee teams. He plays for a team that hides in a bowl inside the Rocky Mountains in Utah. I mean, he doesn't play for a top caliber team, and he's got to do everything he can to outshine everybody. So I totally understand that. So anyway, let's move on to the NFL here. Let me hit that NFL button.
Ice up, son. Ice up.
Sanders still on his feet. Sanders is gone. Hard with daylight and time. Goes for the whole thing. Touchdown. Green Bay leads. Brett Favre.
Rice. He's open. No flags are down. Touchdown.
And here's a sack. Lawrence Taylor comes over the top.
Leon left. No.
Delone fires to an open Smith. Steve Smith is going to go all the way. No flags down. Smith scores, and the Carolina Panthers win in overtime.
6 seconds. Murray heaves it downfield. It's caught. It is caught. DeAndre Hopkins.
He did what?
Ice up, son. Ice up.
I've been waiting for this NFL segment.
Really? You have?
Let's talk about it.
Yes, let's talk about that. Michael, I'm going to let you present the case here before Jacob. You are a longtime San Diego and Los Angeles Chargers fan. I know that about you. You watched Phillip Rivers, Antonio Gates, Vincent Jackson, LaDainian Tomlinson, Sean Merriman, Rodney Harrison, Junior Seau. The list can go on and on and on for years on end. You are one of the biggest Chargers fans I know. Is Phillip Rivers, who just retired after 17 seasons with the San Diego Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers, Indianapolis Colts, is Phillip Rivers a Hall of Fame quarterback?
Without a doubt. YES. Without a doubt. Phillip Rivers, like watching him play growing up, that I just fell in love with his toughness for the game and his passion for the game. He loves this game so much, and it's hard to see him walk away from watching him from all these years, and him walking away from LA, San Diego to LA, now to Indy. I was like, oh man, if I was saying throughout this whole season, if Indy goes to the Super Bowl, I'm hopping on that Indy bandwagon. Because that's how hard I support Phillip Rivers. I think he's like top five in, like, no, I won't say all time, but he's top 5 amongst his class.
Okay.
And being 5th all time in touchdowns, passing yards, and second in consecutive starts. Like,
True.
This guy's a soldier, and if that doesn't prove his toughness, let's go back to that 2006-2007 AFC Championship game. Torn ACL, played through against Tom Brady and the Patriots, and that's a whole nother thing that every time he goes to the playoffs, he always hits that bump going up against Peyton Manning or Tom Brady in the playoffs. And that's always those much respect to Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, that they're one of the best for sure. And seeing Phillip Rivers, oh man, I can stand here all day and make his case. 8-time Pro Bowler, and get this, he's thrown over 4,000 yards since 2013.
Wow.
2013.
Wow, that's a long time. That's
Yes.
8 seasons. That's 8 seasons
Yeah.
with that. All right. I like your case there. Go on. You got a couple more things.
Yeah. So So, and how I fell in love watching the Chargers specifically was for, I forgot what number birthday, but my parents bought me tickets to go watch a Chargers game out in San Diego.
Hey, there you go.
And, man, watching Phillip Rivers handing the ball out to Ryan Matthews, throwing a deep, and they were playing the Miami Dolphins that day, and guess who was the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins? Chad Anything, baby. Mr. Anything can happen. And just watching Phillip Rivers throwing deep bombs to Malcolm Floyd, Fitz and Jackson, Antonio Gates, and again handing the ball off to Darren Sproles as the third down back is, man, it's just like, that's how I, just watching him play in person and even sitting down on the couch, just, it's amazing to see that, what a career he has, and salute to him. I hope for whatever he has going on, he's going to be a head coach at Alabama now, like some Alabama high school.
Yes, I think one of his kids is on the high school team, so that's why I think he's coaching the team.
Because I know his oldest son is not even old enough to play high school ball yet.
Maybe. I hear some things about that. But, Jacob, now you make the case. Is he or is he not a Hall of Famer?
I got to go the other route on this.
I figured you would.
Well, what's your case here, Jacob?
So I grew up in North Carolina.
Yeah.
But I played for a Pop Warner team, and our team was named the Chargers, which meant I was a San Diego Chargers fan growing up. They were my second favorite team. I had a fat head of LaDainian Tomlinson on my wall.
Nice.
I played with the Chargers every day in Madden, and Phillip Rivers went to NC State. I have no reason to hate on this team. And I'll say this. If you have a running back as good as LT and you don't win a Super Bowl, that's a huge blemish on your resume. Also, he has the stats. But what we're going to see here in about 10 years is that he's quickly going to have no stats compared to these other guys. I mean, we're seeing the passing game increase like none other. I think there's a little bit of inflation there with Phillip Rivers' numbers, just a little bit. In 17 years of playing, he only made the playoffs 7 times. I'm pretty sure he had more kids in that 17-year stretch. Tough to say.
Yeah,
he's one of those guys where it kind of comes down to what are the requirements for the NFL Hall of Fame versus like NBA and NHL and MLB. Like, we know with the NBA,
they're the most relaxed ones.
Yes, like Kyle Lowry might get into the Hall of Fame.
Kyle Lowry, Norman Powell. I mean, at this point, Siakam might be already guaranteed for the Hall of Fame too. I mean, it's the requirements for the NBA is not based on stats. It's based on your legacy, and it's based on how successful were you. Like, they're allowing women now into the NBA Hall of Fame. They have a women's section in the NBA Hall of Fame for them, which is nothing wrong with that at all. Women. I mean, I've watched WNBA games. I'm wearing a WNBA sweater as we speak right now. The orange WNBA sweaters. I love this one. It's one of my favorite sweaters, but NBA is a little more relaxed. But continue with your argument.
I think a few main things like the playoff appearances, the touchdown to interception ratio, having LT and Antonio Gates on the same team. But the main thing for me is just the competition and the era he played in. How many other guys of the quarterback caliber are going to get in? I mean, both the Manning brothers, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees in that conversation.
Yeah.
Drew Brees, all these guys, and there's that famous class, the draft class,
2004.
Big Ben, Eli Manning, and Phillip Rivers.
Yep.
And when you look at it, I think the comparison really is between like him and Eli.
Yeah.
Like, maybe one of them should get in, the other one shouldn't. But then their careers are too similar. It's like, how could you decide? It's really tough. I think at the end of the day, I'm going to say no to Eli and no to Phillip, but it's just so close. They're in the hall of extremely good, but not fame.
I feel like I just heard Skip Bayless on my program. I feel like Skip Bayless brought up the same argument the other day when they were arguing about it on the Undisputed. Shout out to Undisputed with Skip and Shannon.
I mean, I don't know what. I mean,
I'll make the case here.
Skip Bayless had this argument. Stephen A. had this argument. Max kind of had this argument. I don't really know where else to go with this argument because I kind of agree with them. He's on the fringe.
I'll tell you why he's a Hall of Famer. because we hold championships too high to an expectation. You either, if you're a true Hall of Famer, you are a champion as your respect. You are the top of your game. You won a championship ring and you are eligible for a Hall of Fame because you won that ring. That is the biggest prize you can win in a sporting event. Now, I grant that is one of the most requirements to get into the Hall of Fame. But if you actually look at the Hall of Fame, nearly half of Hall of Famers don't have Super Bowl rings. There's safeties, there's linemen, there's defensive linemen, there's linebackers, there's tight ends, there's wide receivers, there's quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame that don't have a Super Bowl ring. There are only nearly, you know how many championships have been won by all 32 NFL teams? Not even half of the league has won a Super Bowl ring because of that. Not even half of the league has a Super Bowl championship in their facility because of that. You got to look past the championship, and you got to look at the numbers and say, yeah, Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Fame quarterback. Yes, he played in an era with Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Big Ben, Patrick Mahomes. You can throw Patrick Mahomes into this conversation. He played the last 2-3 seasons with Patrick Mahomes in the same league. He had to back up Drew Brees, who had a Hall of Fame career in New Orleans before Phillip Rivers got his chance to play in Los Angeles and in San Diego. So, yes, he's part of the most famous draft. He's arguably part of the most famous draft class of all time, which is 2004, because Eli Manning got picked 1. Phillip Rivers got picked 4. They were swapped. Phillip Rivers goes to San Diego. Eli Manning goes to New York, wins the 2 Super Bowl rings, and then Phillip Rivers is stuck in San Diego and Los Angeles for the rest of his career with great players, but can never get over the hump because he's in the same conference with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. So the NFL sacrificed Phillip Rivers' career to save Eli's Manning career, so we didn't have to see Eli versus Peyton Manning in the same conference championship, and Big Brother didn't have to embarrass Little Brother. So you sent Phillip Rivers to Los Angeles and San Diego, California, and you sent Eli Manning to New York to win 2 Super Bowl rings. Those 2 Super Bowl rings should be on Phillip Rivers' ring right now. Or if Big Ben, who was part of that class as well, gets picked 1 by the San Diego Chargers, Phillip Rivers is in Pittsburgh winning 2 Super Bowl rings with the Pittsburgh Steelers because he would have won the 2005 and 2009 Super Bowl with those 2 teams. So,
well, what if it's a different game? But I like your points about the Super Bowls, how they've become overrated over time. I think he has a very similar career to this other player, Vince Carter, in the sense that they both had some pretty solid peaks, and then their longevity and consistency in the latter half of their career solidified the Hall of Fame case.
I was gonna say Charles Barkley just without that MVP. Charles Barkley won the 1993 MVP, but I don't
think Phillip Rivers was ever the 3rd greatest player in the NFL.
Okay, fair point. I like your Vince Carter. I like the Vince Carter.
Because I'd say Vince Carter was about 5 to 10 at his peak.
Yes.
And then I'd say
he was never in a true conversation.
Never won a championship.
Never won a championship, and never was really in a conversation for the MVP either. But he was just so of a high flying. He was the high flying dunker that just made a lot of highlight reels and could shoot the ball from time to time. That was a fair point, right?
Yeah, I think it's a decent comparison, the Barkley and the other one.
I like the Barkley. Barkley, because Barkley's the one, like, you talk about players that don't have championships, what's the first thing that comes to my mind? Charles Barkley. Because he's being made fun of it all the time on the NBA show with Shaq and Kenny because they got rings between them. I mean, it's the funny argument, but yeah, that's the one right there. And we can say this about San Diego Chargers history in period. Like, they've made it to the conference championships before, during, I can't remember his name. It was in the 80s.
Doug Flutie?
Yes. Sorry. Not Doug Flutie.
Dan Fouts?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dan Fouts. The Dan Fouts era, Eric Cornell offense. That was one of the times there. So, yeah, I totally get that. All right. Let's move on over to Dwayne Haskins here. Michael, I don't know if you were following this. Did you remember Dwayne Haskins?
Yeah,
you remember him, right? The first,
I watched him since his days back in Ohio State. And I saw that draft night, and when he got picked up by Washington, and
Did you also know that he got cut and now he's with a new team already? Yeah. So he's getting picked up by the Pittsburgh Steelers, signed a 1-year contract. Of course, Stephen A. Smith went off on a little rant saying, how dare you pick this guy up? He doesn't care about football. Doesn't pay attention. Everybody bashing it. But he's either going to be a backup or the clipboard. And the clipboard is just the third stringer on the team. He's the emergency quarterback. But Michael, does he deserve a second chance after getting cut by the football team and failing as a first round draft pick?
If he gets his act together and stops going out during this pandemic, being crazy and all that, I say give him a second chance. That he's so young, he doesn't realize how much potential that he can bring to a team, and he's probably going to battle Mason Rudolph, Joshua Dobbs out in Pittsburgh for that second string spot, and if he battles it out, shows that he can study the playbook, be that guy for, like when Ben Roethlisberger decides to leave the NFL, but he can be the guy in Pittsburgh if he just gets his act together.
Jacob?
I sure hope Steelers fans don't feel that way. But,
you were in Pittsburgh hanging out with a couple of your buddies.
I have a buddy in Pittsburgh, and right as soon as I heard about the Dwayne Haskins news, I messaged him and I said, Haskins fits in perfectly with this team because it was the AB, it was Le'Veon, it was Juju this year, and now we're going to have Dwayne Haskins as the final member of the...
What'd your buddy say? What was his response to that?
Not a whole lot, really. I feel like he's still disappointed after this season, as I can tell. He's still a little shocked. But I think he fits into this whole drama-led organization. Like, he's either going to flop or turn his career around with the Steelers. I can't really see anything in between. Not a whole lot to say. I mean, I knew someone had to take him, but at the end of the day, I'll care about Dwayne Haskins when he's starting and playing legit football.
Don't forget, he almost was a Carolina Panther. It was down to the Panthers and to the Steelers that were trying to offer him a contract. So you can breathe a sigh of relief that he isn't going to go to Carolina.
We need Deshaun.
Everybody wants Deshaun Watson. I even want Deshaun Watson. So besides Los Angeles Chargers fans, they already have a gunslinger in
yes, sir, Justin Herbert.
Yeah, you got a good one right there. But listen, he's going to be either backup or the clipboard. He's going to be the third string guy. Him getting cut, I think it was an eye-opener for him. I think he's finally got a chance to learn that the NFL, you're not guaranteed anything. Like, even on a rookie contract, which is barely, just damn near a 5-year contract, you got cut after 2 seasons. So you must have done something wrong when an XFL quarterback in Heineke, whose last name is almost the same as a beer, comes in for a final game, almost beats that team out, and then almost beats the GOAT in Tom Brady and gave him a heart attack in the wild card round. You saw that game. I watched that game.
10 points is not a heart attack.
Listen, they almost came back in that game and gave Tom Brady a heart attack. I was praying to the gods, please let it happen. It would have been so funny to talk about.
Heineke beer would have sold out that night. Stock went to the roof.
The Coin Flip, episode number 20, being brought to you by Heineken Beer.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, but listen, he's going to be a training camp arm. He's going to have to fight for that second spot because Big Ben Roethlisberger is going to get a $42 million paycheck and is going to play his final season with the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is going to be his final season. He's not coming back after this season. He's going to retire after this season. Who's the next heir for the Pittsburgh Steelers? They haven't been in this situation with a questionable quarterback since the 80s and early in the 90s. They didn't have any decent quarterbacks. Their best quarterback before Big Ben Roethlisberger was Cordell Stewart, who was a former wide receiver turned into a quarterback. So we'll see what happens. I think this is going to be a bit of a what's going to happen to Dwayne Haskins, and we'll see what comes down to it. All right, I didn't get the picks. I didn't get the scores in from last week, and I'm sorry, Jacob. I forgot to track down who won and who lost last week. So
no problem. We know who's in the conference championship.
We'll do that. We'll do that next week. I'll tally up everything, and we'll come out with the conclusion of who won the bet between you and me. But I'll give you the scores from last week in the division round. Everybody knows who's playing for the conference championships. But the Green Bay Packers beat the Los Angeles Rams 32-16. The Buffalo Bills beat the Baltimore Ravens 17-3. The Kansas City Chiefs bought a nail biter between the Cleveland Browns, 22-17. If there's not that touchback, and then there's not that 4th down and 1 to Tyreek Hill, Cleveland might have gone to the conference championship and upset the Kansas City Chiefs. And then Tampa Bay got their revenge on New Orleans, 30-20. They're going to the conference championship. I meant to ask you this, Michael, before we talk about these conference championships. You are from California. You're a San Diego fan, now a Los Angeles Chargers fan. Do you feel a little slight that there's now 2 professional football teams in Los Angeles, in the Rams and the Chargers?
I mean, I don't mind the Rams whatsoever. I have much respect for them, and I have there's no beef to have with them for sure. And I can't say that there's too many LA Rams fans out in California. Like it's a good diversity of who's your favorite team out there.
I mean, you guys got like 40 franchise teams out in California.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys got like 4 hockey teams, like 4 baseball teams. Like you got USC, UCLA. You got Stanford. You guys have so many teams. I mean, I think Seattle's like knocking on the door, be like, hey, can we get a couple franchises? You guys don't need that many teams, man. Like seriously. So much respect to the Los Angeles area as it is. But Jacob, let's give it out to Michael here first. Let's get his picks before we get everybody else's picks. Let's give the guest picker here real quick.
All right.
Tampa Bay versus Green Bay. Buffalo versus Kansas City.
Okay.
What do you got?
I don't think Tampa Bay is going to have Green Bay's number the second time around, because the way Green Bay dominated LA last week just goes to show how much they've grown since that Tampa Bay game. And I got to go Green Bay over Tampa Bay. And I'll give a prediction. I think Green Bay will have Tampa Bay at least by 10 points.
Wow.
10 points.
Okay.
Let's go bet on that.
Okay. And then Kansas City, Buffalo.
Oh, man. Can Buffalo stay consistent? Can they get the run game going? That's going to be my question. If they get the run game going and just give Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs a breather in the passing game, I would say Buffalo. But Patrick Mahomes got cleared yesterday.
Yes, he did.
He's feeling dangerous.
Yes, he is.
I'm going to say Kansas City by a field goal.
Ooh, okay, a field goal.
I want you to go, Martin.
You already know who I'm picking, because we did this at the beginning of the playoffs, who we thought was going to be in the Super Bowl to begin with. I got Buffalo, and I got Green Bay. I know picking Green Bay is a sinful thing, being from Chicago. I'm supposed to hate the Green Bay Packers.
So you picked Packers and you picked Bills a few weeks back before the playoffs.
Yes, I did. So, listen, there's an opportunity, and you pointed it out, and you said that Tom Brady would be the first person to ever play in the same stadium as hosting the Super Bowl. I remember you said that.
No, I predicted the Packers and Chiefs.
Okay.
We want the State Farm Bowl.
But I said it could happen.
It could happen. All right, it could happen. But nonetheless, I don't think it's going to happen this year. Listen, if he plays in the same stadium that his team is hosting the Super Bowl, there's no more argument that Tom Brady is the greatest of all time in the NFL. And there might be an argument, if he wins that Super Bowl in his own stadium, there might be an argument that he's the greatest GOAT of all time in just sports. I mean, just in sports. Like, that is Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan level type things. Like, that is that level right there. So, I got Green Bay. I got Buffalo. Those are my championship winners.
The Bills Chiefs. Let's tackle this one first.
Ooh, you want to dive into this?
Sean McDermott has come a long way since being my Panthers DC.
Yes, he has.
He was the defensive coordinator when the Panthers made to the Super Bowl, and I should have tracked his career a little bit more, because now we're seeing what he's doing with the Bills, what he could have done with my Panthers if he would have took over the head coaching job.
Hey, don't slight Matt Rule. Matt Rule's gotten a whole lot out of this team in the last year.
He went back in 2017. In 2017, he left the team, so that's kind of why the windows didn't match up. But the Bills held the Ravens to 3 points.
Yes.
That's with Lamar. That's with Ingram. That's with Hollywood Brown. They're looking good. The Chiefs' defense also stepped up when Mahomes went down, only allowing 17 points.
It did get a little scary, though.
Talking about the running game, Devin Singletary, seven rushes. Is that right? 7 rushes, 25 yards last game. The Bills are one-dimensional, man. They can only throw the ball. I know Josh Allen's legit, but at the end of the day, they're one-dimensional. I'm looking at the roster. I'm thinking, If Diggs is double teamed all game, who else is going to be open? John Brown, Cole Beasley. He had no catches last game.
Measly Beasley.
Lack of threats. I say so. The Bills, the Chiefs, they're built to play from behind. They're not a running offense. They're a passing offense. We saw last playoffs, they were down double digits every single game and still won the Super Bowl. Unbelievable. But I want to talk about Tyrann Mathieu on the defensive side of the Kansas City Chiefs that gets overlooked. They're better defensively this year than last year, in my opinion. Tyrann Mathieu's journey from college football superstar to suspended off the face of the earth and then coming back and is now a superstar in the NFL, probably the best safety currently in the game.
That's something big to say.
He's stepping up when it matters the most. He had a pick last week. I expect him to pull through with another pick this week. The Chiefs' defense is just better, and then there hasn't been an answer the last 2 years for this inside-outside combination of Kelsey and Hill on offense. That is so hard to guard. If the safety goes defense, they're throwing that quick little slant down the middle to Kelsey, and it's just first down after first down. You can't stop it. And the Chiefs are at home. They're playing where they want to play, 27-21. I'm giving the Chiefs the dub.
All right. Next, what's going on with the NFC? Are you about to go against Aaron Rodgers?
I've been back and forth on this all week. I've been thinking about this all week long. Into this morning, I finally decided. I picked the Packers and the Chiefs to make the Super Bowl.
You're going back on it, aren't you?
I'm going back on it.
I knew it!
Oh, man. Rodgers, this is the best time in his career to win a Super Bowl. I think this is the best receiver he's ever had in his career as far as, peak. Devontae Adams right now, yes, is the best receiver he's ever had. He might have even the best defense he's ever had. The defense is looking solid this year, comparable to last year. But the Packers lost 38-3 to the Bucs early in this year, man. They gotta do a 36 point turnaround in this next game. Tom Brady has the chance to be the first team, be on the first team to play in a Super Bowl in which they're playing in that city that they come from.
They're hosting the Super Bowl. And I said it last week to you and Rustin, and you guys both picked the Saints. You don't bet against TB12. You don't do it. We've learned either in Madden or just watching football all throughout our lives. The one man that we cannot bet against in this sport, it's Tom Brady. As much as we hated him growing up, I have this sort of newfound respect for him just because he's kind of came into my division and took out who was the top dog in our division, the Saints, just year after year. So I can appreciate that. But I think Rodgers is going to face a tough defense. They're going to get after him. They held him to only 3 points in that other game. I know you throw out all the stats. You throw out all the other previous games. And so this just comes down to legacy, man. And I cannot bet against Tom Brady in this game. That is my entire argument. Just Tom Brady. 34-31, Bucs win in the close one.
So here's where I agree with you on that one. The last 2 times the Green Bay Packers have hosted a conference championship at home, do you know who they lost to both times? The
Seahawks?
The New York Giants.
The
New York Giants. Last 2 times the Green Bay Packers have hosted a conference championship on home soil in Lambeau Field, they lost to the New York Giants on both games in just retrospect history. The last time they were in a conference championship, yes, we had the meltdown at the end. What were they doing on the onside kick? Why didn't Jordy Nelson get the football? Why did somebody think about, hey, let me go for the football? No, you're supposed to be blocking that dude, stopping him from getting the football. So the last time they won a conference championship was against my Chicago Bears when Jay Cutler could backpedal on a bike but not backpedal in a pocket. Anyway, stupid Cutler. Anyway, so last time Green Bay won a conference championship. Last time Green Bay was in a Super Bowl was in 2010-2011. They won that Super Bowl over the Pittsburgh Steelers with Troy Polamalu on a hurt leg and Ryan Clark on a broken arm. So it was a little bit of a questionable one, but I get your point. But that's I don't disagree with you. Don't bet against Tom Edward Brady Jr.
I felt this way in the Atlanta comeback in the Super Bowl, and I'm feeling it again this year. It's like I'm watching a Disney movie. We know what the end is supposed to be. We just have to see if it comes true.
But guess what? Sometimes Disney movies don't end well, man. Did you not watch Friday? Well, okay, not in all Disney movies, but sometimes in sports movies they don't end all in good. Did you not watch Friday Night Lights? They lost the state championship game. They didn't win that game. He got his old man ring at the end of it when he said, "You are a state championship, but you take my state championship ring."
Keyword is Disney. Keyword is Disney.
Lord, this is not a Disney story, but anyway, I get your point. All right, let me push that other sports button, and then we're going to talk some Dixie sports. We'll talk a little UFC. We got a big fight tonight between two big monsters. And then, Jacob, you got a rant to do today, buddy. So let's get all into that. Let me hit that other sports button.
20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration. Dale Earnhardt will come to the caution flag to win the Daytona 500. And the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores. There's the pass to Leitner. Puts it up. Yes! With Canerco up. And he rips one in the left. Canerco, grand slam.
Other sports here on the coin flip, man. We talk about baseball. We talk about college football, college basketball. We talk about the other sports we can't cover in the NBA and the NHL and the NFL. We cover all that in this segment here. Michael, I brought you on mainly here to talk about Dixie sports, man, because like I said earlier in the show, there's no one that I know that knows more about Dixie sports than you, brother. There's no one that I know that knows more about it. Let's start first with basketball. Last night,
one heck of a game.
They lost a heartbreaker, bro. I had to call that game myself. Did you watch that game last night, Jacob?
The Dixie game?
The Dixie game.
I was doing it at Cherry Creek.
Yes.
And I was listening along, and towards the end of the game, I kind of just got sidetracked. We ended up losing by 3.
Yes.
But I heard Cam Gooden had an open look at the end of the game and just fumbled the ball.
He fumbled the ball. So what happened is, and you play the guard position here, and you know as well as I do. Guard position, you have to learn 2 things. You have to learn how to handle the ball, and you have to learn how to use your eyes before you shoot, right? It's always something you talk about with a point guard. Is if you're going to shoot, don't let your eyes get ahead of you before you actually shoot the ball, because you're going to lose the ball because you're not going to know that your eyes are shooting before your hands shoot. Basically, that's what happened. They got it to Goody. He came off a back screen. He got the ball. He's about to shoot it from the top of the key. He's about to send it to overtime. 77-77 overtime. Here we come. 5 minutes go back on the clock against Grand Canyon. We're about to win our first game in the Western Athletic Conference. And he fumbled it when he tried to come back on the back step and try to just line up. He tried to come like this and then try to line it up like that and lost the ball in Grand Canyon right off the clock.
I was really hoping for like a Villanova versus North Carolina
moment. It was almost there.
Oh, my gosh.
No.
I was like, send it to overtime, please. Like,
he would have got fouled too, so he would have had a 4-point play on it as well. I was so upset with it. But, Michael, listen, we know they're on a 5-game losing streak. They're 0-3 in the Western Athletic Conference. It's not a great start for them, but this Dixie State men's basketball team is showing something that they can play with the big boys in this WAC conference, can't they?
Yeah, definitely. And those 5 losses, Gonzaga, UTRGV, who's surprisingly on a rise right now in the WAC, and GCU, without a doubt, another great team in the WAC.
Don't forget New Mexico.
And New Mexico, that's going to be towards the end of the season. And California.
No. They played New Mexico.
Oh, yeah, New Mexico. Sorry. Yeah, okay.
You're right,
New Mexico State is the one I was thinking about. But New Mexico State's at the end of the season. But then right after GCU, they got to go to California, Riverside, to go play California Baptist.
An old rival of ours as well in the Pac West as well. So we met up with Grand Canyon and California Baptist were old Pac West rivals. Now we're reviving them within the Western Athletic Conference. Cameron Gooden filled in that spot for Jack Pincup so well. He's filled in that spot so well. We saw Hunter Schofield come back with 22 points last night. We finally see the old Hunter Schofield we saw this last year with him, with Jack and Hunter. They were so good together last year. And finally we're starting to see a little bit of Hunter Schofield coming back. What is John Junkins doing with this team right here to get him so ready for these games?
So what John Junkins is doing is that he's just attacking. He's so good at adjustments that when it comes to the second half, that he knows, like, okay, this is what we got to do. We got to do this, and that. We're gonna go back to this defense because we can lock him down this way. But they got to be the second half team. They got to lower those points because GCU scored over 40. They held GCU to 30 points in the first half and held them up, and they gave up more than 40 points in the second half. So they got to make some minor tweaks, play better defense tonight. But having Cameron Gooden attack the basket last night, for sure that and making those points in the basket and getting Cameron Gooden the fouls, getting points from the free throw line, giving Hunter Schofield the ball a little bit, and Jared Green in the paint as well. That they just got to keep making opportunities, and I think that's what Coach Judkins wants to do. That he wants to create more opportunities in the paint to score, or just keep sharing the ball. That's what they do very well. Is that they love to share the ball, and they'll make that extra pass to make that three or that mid-range jumper. So that's what my take was from last night's game.
I listened to, I apologize, I can't remember his name. I think it's just the same as the Gonzaga's coach, Few, for Grand Canyon University. I can't remember his name. It's not on the top of my head, but he was in his post game. He was doing a post game interview yesterday, and he had some remarkable comments to say about, listen. You look at their banners. They've been in 10 conference championship games for the last 10 years. I mean, we won 2 conference titles with the RMAC. These guys know the system. They're used to their transition basketball. They're used to their system. They know what they're running. They know how to.
And they gave kudos to our big guys because they did grow in the Division II level with some tough guys, and they're going to play guys that are going to be taller than them. They're going to play guys that are going to be tougher than them.
We were talking about it off air. Bjorsk, I think his name is Bjorsk Grand Midtgaard. This kid from Denmark on this Grand Canyon University team. I saw him walking down the tunnel. So they walk down the tunnel over at the Burns Arena when they're going to go down to the locker rooms. It's on the other side of it. You know where the old gym used to be, right?
Yeah.
So they walk down that tunnel to get into the arena. I saw Midtgaard walking by because I was just walking by accident. It says 7 foot 270 on the roster. Bull crap. He's 7'1" and he's at least 300 pounds. There's no way he's not that because I'm 6'7", 326. He's almost as big as me, okay? This dude is huge, but Jared Green and Hunter Schofield played a hell of a game last night. They're both under 6'10", and they were keeping Midtgaard and Lavier, who was 6'9" on this team with Grand Canyon, under some pretty big numbers because they got out rebounded last night, but there was some good chances that Dixie State got last night.
And that's going to be another thing too for tonight, that they got to get the second chance rebounds and you mentioned this earlier before the podcast, that they got to make those second chance baskets. Put it in, man. They got to finish.
That's the big thing that Grand Canyon got last night. There was a possession last night. They had like 5 rebounds on one possession. Hunter Schofield almost got it. Lavier got it back. He put up a layup and it went back in. All right, let's transition over from basketball to football. All right, Dixie State football is about to have. Jacob, get this. Have you ever, because you played football and I played football back in the day, have you ever had to play 2 seasons of football in 1 year?
What?
Yes. That's the crazy part about it, because Dixie State's going to have to play a spring schedule of 6 games later in February and in March and in April, and then turn around and get ready for their football season in August to take on a 12-game schedule. So they got to play 6 games in the spring and then turn around and play 12 games in the fall.
This is going to contribute to my rant. I'll just say that.
Good. But back to Michael with this 6-game schedule. They're going to go to Tarleton State first, then at New Mexico State, then come home to Tarleton State, then to Kennesaw State, and then 2 back-to-back games against Fort Lewis and New Mexico Highlands. As I mentioned, 2 seasons in 1 year, and the Western Athletic Conference 2022 won't take place until 2022, so they got 1 year of being an independent. What does Dixie State football got to do to be successful in just 1 year with 2 seasons?
Oh man, so they gotta establish themselves first, because game 1 it's Tarleton and another FCS I want to say ally, but foe, that they're going to be coming in, and they're both going to be rusty. They're going to see like, oh, what do we got? Like who's going to be starting? Then like you said, the turnaround. Then they got to turn around come fall to get ready. See, like, okay, like once Coach Peterson says, like, okay, we see what we can do in this 6-game season, and we got to have this guy here and here and there because this works best for our offense and defense.
So, go ahead.
So wait, I'm just kind of confused. So how are they doing it? So they're doing 6 games this spring, 6 games this fall.
We're not sure. We're not sure about like when, how many games are going to be set in stone for the fall. Because I talked to Dr. Booth the other day about. Did you hear about the WAC announcement?
I have not.
No, the whack about we talked about it last week. The four schools that got entered, the 5 schools.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
the football and all
Yeah.
that.
So what Dr. Booth told me is that it's not going to be a set in stone WAC full WAC schedule yet, because SUU is not going to join until 2022. But Texas is coming, and for sure that it's not going to be a full WAC schedule, and we got to keep in mind for the 22 season that we got BYU. We got to go to BYU as well.
It's one of the first games on the schedule, and then 2023 we got to go to Utah.
Yeah, so nothing, and if we got Fresno State in the future as well, but nothing is set in stone yet. But we just got to hint at it's going to be kind of a WAC schedule, but they're still working out some kinks to see like who are we going to be playing in this fall.
Have you had let's stay on the football here? Have you had a chance to go to any practices, any
No,
walkthroughs?
I haven't the opportunity.
All right,
yes,
so
Steve Johnson's really like just taking care of these kids. We're nowhere near these kids.
All right. So maybe we'll get some more talk about when they finally start hitting the ground running with some practice. Let's turn it over to baseball and softball. Those are the last two Dixie sports we're going to talk about before we talk about some UFC. Jacob is a big UFC fan. We got to talk about the big fight tonight. But Dixie State's baseball and softball released their schedules this morning. You were all over this. You were texting me like, dude, the schedules are out. I'm like, yes, finally. I get to see the schedules. Baseball is going to have Washington State, USC, Wichita State, BYU, Utah, Arizona. Softball has Washington, the University of Washington, UNLV, and Boise State. These two teams are very good. How big of a step is this for the programs to step up and play not only just Division I teams, but legitimate Division I programs in baseball and softball?
This is a huge step for baseball specifically because that they don't really go out and play like they're playing like all West Coasting, and now they're kind of branching out because Wichita State, like I got to talk to Coach Feinhauer about this, that how in the world did you land Wichita State? Like isn't Wichita State like in Kansas?
Yes, it is. Kansas.
And just how did you land that game, and how did you land Washington State to come here and play for a 4-game set? And that's going to be huge to see, like, okay, like can we play with the big dogs in this level and see if we can make the College World Series here in the future.
College World Series, man, in Nebraska. It's going to be a lot of fun. I forgot to mention one thing. I know you followed it last night. The women's volleyball team, they got their first win of the season at Southern Utah. But let's not only mention that they got their first win of the season. They finished in 3 sets. They swept Southern Utah right out of Cedar City.
The brooms.
Like they swept their biggest rival in Southern Utah right out of the door. How did the volleyball team look last night?
Oh man, Megan Trainer and our transfer from University of Arizona, Whitney Neapoli, killed it last night. They
nice.
2 leaders in kills and blocks, and I can't think of the other. I know the other stat line.
Like volleyball's got like 200 stats you got to keep up with. You think keeping up with like rebounds and like assist percentage and like field goal percentage is hard? Try to keep up with all the stats in volleyball.
I think it's kills, and oh my gosh, it's gonna bug me that I can't think about that.
We'll figure it out on the other day. But they looked really good last night.
Yeah, they looked really good beating SUU at SUU.
That's the big thing. They went to Cedar and did this. They didn't come down to the Burns. They went to Cedar, Utah, and embarrassed them on their own.
Yeah, and now they got to do a huge turnaround because I really want to talk to Coach Robin Felder about this. That we're used to seeing the volleyball team playing Thursdays through Saturdays. Now they got to transition to Mondays and Tuesdays, beginning of the weekend. Guess what? They're playing the conference champions, New Mexico State.
I can't wait. I've seen a couple volleyball games. I can't wait to go back to because they're not going to be in the SAC anymore.
Yeah, they're going to be in the Burns.
They're going to be in the Burns. Now we're not going to have a little small crowd of, a few hundred people. Now we get to have 1,000 people watch this team on a daily night. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's turn it back over to softball. Softball is one of the bigger programs at this school. Yeah. They are one of the most successful programs at this school. They got, as I mentioned, they got Washington, UNLV, and Boise State. Is this team ready for the big step for them?
Oh, I think so. That they were in a couple tournaments before the season got canceled earlier in 2020. That they beat Texas A&M Kingsville in a tournament at Tucson, I believe, or Texas or Tucson.
One of the two.
And they swept their home tournament. They cleaned house there, and they were looking really, really good. That the 1 to 2 spots were getting on base or bringing in the runs. Middle of the order, it was consistent time to time, but that's can be something that could be adjusted. And the 7 through 9 hitters need some work, but I'm confident that Coach Simpkins is gonna make sure that that's all tightened up for this UNLV tournament.
We were talking about it off air. They have this player from British Columbia. I can't remember.
Polinsky, that's her last name.
Yeah, I think it was probably like Nikki Polinsky, something like that. But they have
they got a good pitching staff.
Burgess is going to be the number one because we don't have
Cambry Hazel anymore.
She transferred out. Cambry Hazel, that fastball of hers, oh my God. Listen, Jacob, I've seen this girl pitch. Cambry Hazel pitched one time as I watched her play a game. She struck out 18 players in one game with this wicked fastball of hers, dude. You would think you cannot throw a fastball with a softball with how they throw it. 18 players in one game she struck out.
In 7 innings or 9?
It's 7. It was a doubleheader.
It's
7 18 out of 21.
Yes.
Wow.
And I was working the camera behind that, and that was amazing to watch. Like, she is dominating.
Seriously, it's like watching Randy Johnson on the mound. Like, so hopefully she has a good career wherever she went to. I hope she does because she was one of the most wicked pitches. But Burgess is the opposite. Burgess loves to throw those slow pitches. Burgess loves to work.
She's still dominant, though.
She's still dominant, but she likes to work the count because she likes to play the mind games. Hazel was just like, give me the ball. Let me throw my fastballs. Get the hell out of here. Who's next? Burgess likes to play with the minds. What's the next step for Burgess to take over this pitching staff?
She's definitely going to be the new number one, and she's got to be like this type of leader role for these younger pitchers because we got Brianna Castellone, Ashton Bueller, and Holinsky. Holinsky's probably going to be the number 2. Then Ashton Bueller and Brianna Castellone are going to be playing for that 3-4 spot. And when I talked to Coach Simpkins last year, that he was really excited to have more depth into his pitching staff. That it was just Cambry Hazel and Carissa Burgess, and to have more depth and just like, okay, we can. If Carissa's like needs a break or we need to lean back on somebody else, that they have depth to rely on and for pitching.
You know what, Michael? I want to bring you on more time to talk about Dixie Sports because I love talking about Dixie Sports. Jacob, don't you love talking about Dixie Sports? Isn't it good to go to a college where your college athletics are just on the top of the mountain and can give you something to talk about?
It is. As we kind of get out of this COVID era, I think it'll be really awesome as D1 really picks up. Yes, sir.
D1 program on the rise. All right, boys, let's talk about the fight tonight. It is a big one tonight. Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor, 6 years in the making. Whoever wins this fight might have a chance at Khabib Nurmagomedov to come back into the world of UFC and fight for his championship. Michael, I'll give it off to you first before I give it to Jacob. Who do you got winning tonight's fight?
Oh man, I just want to see a good fight, man. I want this thing to go. What is it? 5 rounds?
I think it's
5.
5 rounds. I think it's probably 3-minute, 5-minute rounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably.
I just want to see a good fight, man. Like if they just go after each other, then that's all I really care about. But if I had to pick one, McGregor.
All right,
McGregor.
For this fight tonight, I think I'm going to go with McGregor. I think it'll go the distance. It'll go all 15 minutes. But
Really? Okay.
I would prefer to see a knockout, a submission of some type. I've been watching their weigh-in, and what everyone's noticing about McGregor, if you look at the comments, McGregor has sort of turned around his personality now. He's
a little bit more friendly. He's not aggressive as
he appears very respectful to his opponent, shaking his head multiple times, smiling. It's definitely different from the things we've seen, the antics we've seen from McGregor in the past. I feel like he just looks older. He looks more mature. He looks like he's maybe finally turned that corner, and it looks like he'll have more of the public on his side for this fight. No one's got some hard feelings for him. I think he's now in the limelight of the public.
I'm going to pick the Irishman because I'm half Irish as well, so I can't go against the Irishman. The Irish are not always great in everything. Maybe we're better in drinking than anything on the planet. I mean, we do make good Irish whiskey. Jameson Irish whiskey is very good. But I'm picking Conor McGregor in this one. I want to see Khabib versus Conor too. I want to see it so bad that I'm dying for it, that if he wins this fight tonight, he is going to be the next one to take on Khabib Nurmagomedov, who's going to come out of retirement, who's going to fight again. I think he's going to come out of retirement, dude. Yes, I know he said he doesn't want to do it again, but I think if you persuade him enough with enough money, like Dana White's a very persuasive person. If the money talks, man,
Here's
money
the thing
talks
about Khabib. Khabib should know in his mind damn well, neither one of these guys stands a chance. Khabib Nurmagomedov is going to grapple and submission both of these guys inside of 2 rounds.
Hey, man.
No doubt.
He did fight a bear one time in the woods, so I can't deny that.
He's from Russia. He'd fight anything in the mountains, in the snow.
Did you watch that video back in the day when you saw, like, it was like an 8-year-old Khabib Nurmagomedov being forced by his dad to fight a bear, a legitimate, like, a cub bear in the middle of the woods? It's like, hey, yeah, take on that bear. What? Like, most people would, like, get their 8-year-olds away from something like that. No, he forced his kid to go fight with a bear, and obviously Khabib's dad died because of COVID-19 earlier this year. It's really sad. They made a little montage about it. You never want to lose a parent, so I totally understand it. If he doesn't want to fight again, if his mom says don't, then he can't. But I would love to see a rematch. So, all right, Jacob, let me hit that rank button. Let's get it done.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
The one, the only, the rant.
Oh, you're about to go blasphemous.
Fighting a scorpion, and that is final. Will you two shut up?
Oh my God, I don't care. You will when we're done talking about the rant here on the Coin Flip with Martin Kelly
and Jacob Zimmerman. Michael, here on the Coin Flip, we have a segment in our show, and it is called The Rant. At the end of the show, of every show, me and Martin take turns going back and forth, and we take a subject maybe we talked about briefly. Maybe we didn't even talk about it at all throughout our show, and then one of us goes in depth into that, and then you guys will have your chance to talk about it after. But I'm going to do my rant on the kind of college sports world. Starting off, and really what piqued my interest to do it is on Bleacher Report about a week ago, it came out that Tennessee, the University of Tennessee, was reportedly putting cash in McDonald's bags for recruits on visit.
I saw that.
We've been around the block for a while, guys. We've seen numerous players, numerous organizations, numerous colleges get caught up in this scheme of trying to pay their players, trying to get them to come to their school. Of course, you want to get them to come to your school, and when push comes to shove, you're going to do whatever you can to get it done.
I was just about to say, just one quick. Remember Reggie Bush, how he had to give up the Heisman Trophy after they found out that they bought a house,
which is terrible.
Family. And then Zion just won his case against the agent that was supposed to sign him to get him to the NBA, and she was suing him for like $100 million.
I love the point on Zion, and Zion is the perfect guy for this scenario. A year and a half ago, college basketball, every single time there was a college basketball ad, it had Zion Williamson in it. That is an extreme amount of money that Zion Williamson is owed by the NCAA that he will never see in his lifetime, unfortunately. I think there's a lot of problems, even pre-COVID. I feel like the NCAA was just on a downfall. And then now, with fans not there, they're starting to lose money, it seems. We've known NCAA to be rich, not pay their players when they damn well should. And now it's like they have an excuse to not pay their players. I miss NCAA football. I don't know about you guys, but I still play that. It's better than Madden, and I don't know what's holding them back from doing that. But I know bringing NCAA football back will help instill the magic back into college football sports. But the no fans, I think that hurts more than the pros even, because there's nothing like, say Texas A&M, right? They're known for the 12th man. Nope, not anymore. They're just the 11 men on the team, one side of the football, the other side of the football. without fans in college sports, it really kills it. It's not as big of a deal in the pros because they're professional athletes. They're going to have attention wherever they go. This is college sports, guys. The camaraderie around it, it's unmatched. And I'm disappointed for now the second year in a row we're witnessing college careers just go down the drain because of COVID-19, and it sucks. But we're even seeing some other bigger issues. UNC, Duke, Kentucky, they're not even players in college basketball this year. None of them stand a chance to win the big tournament. College football, it's lacking diversity big time. I know I'm out here on the podcast saying, I'm tired of Alabama and Clemson every year. And you're like, you just got Ohio State. Ohio State bull crap. They've been in the college football playoff the last 5 years. We need some more. We need things mixed up in college sports. I want to see the big programs on top, but not overly dominant to where it ruins all the other programs. I want to see fans back. I want to see NCAA back, and I want to see payers get played fairly. I know there's going to be some new problems that come about that if they start paying players, but they need to just do it. They just need to get on that bandwagon, start moving forward in the NCAA. That is my rant.
I like the rant. As I'm thinking about it, do you remember a story? Because I love the story so much that it's one of my favorite sanctioned stories of all time. Do you remember the SMU story about them in the mid-'80s, the Pony Express, the Pony Excess story?
A little bit, but go in detail.
I'll just before we get to the end of it, it's just they were paying players under the table at SMU, Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas. They were paying players, and they got in trouble, and they got the death penalty. The death penalty, basically, if you get the death penalty in college sports, your program is shut down for a whole entire season. No football, no basketball, no baseball, no nothing. You can't play. You got to transfer everybody out. You have to start all over, fire the coaching staffs. You got to start from day one, and they've been trying to dig themselves out of that hole ever since. The NCAA has sanctioned that rule a couple times, but has not done it in college football because they're like, we're not doing that again because we've seen what we've done at SMU, and that was a regret decision. But nonetheless, they deserved it back then. Obviously, USC, Reggie Bush giving up the Heisman Trophy after getting paid under the table. We mentioned Zion. I mean, he got sued by an agent he hired, and the agent sued him for $100 million because she didn't get the recognition for getting him to the NBA. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? You're not a top agent. You're just someone who just helped him get to college basketball. You don't need $100 million.
Zion was definitely paid good as Duke. All of them are getting paid. You can't tell me they're not. So you might as well just all pay them the same, so then it can put everyone on equal playing field.
It can. Michael, any thoughts?
Oh man, just I gotta agree with Jacob that I miss college football, but like at the same time, I just didn't I pay attention to it, but not as often I should have.
Yeah, that's how I kind of felt these past 2 years. Is I'm doing the podcast, but outside of like my research, the podcast, I could really give two craps about college basketball this year.
I will say this. Do you remember, I didn't have one, but I remember a friend of mine had one. Do you remember not only the NCAA football games, do you remember the NCAA basketball games?
The video games?
Yeah, the video game. Kevin Love was on the cover one time with his UCLA jersey. You don't remember those?
I do remember those. I didn't play those like the NCAA football. People still update the roster of NCAA 14. If you go try to buy NCAA 14, it's going to cost you over $150.
Yep.
That's how pricey the game is now.
Yep. I remember I had 2014. I remember that was the last good copy of that game. All right, that's the coin flip here for you. Michael, we love you for coming on to the podcast, brother. We're going to bring you on here back soon. Jacob, I know you got a couple buddies that like talking about sports. Bring them on, man. Let's talk more
we're getting
sports.
Talks about that.
You know, we're going to listen. I like the fact that we bring somebody else on because it's not just you and me. We got someone else in the studio who's got a different opinion. It keeps it fresh. It keeps it fun. It keeps it exciting. And we get to meet some new people, man.
Sure does.
All right. That's the coin flip for you guys. Appreciate y'all listening to me. Peace.
Peace.